trees, that would be grounds to start a physical war. No, we're not trying to push war, are we? We're just these peace-loving people. This is a very, very dangerous hair trigger that they have set up, and Alex is going to be talking about that in the next section. Paul, one of the other news articles I saw coming out of the UK that's about the Brexit vote, and of course the Brexit vote is going to be a week from yesterday. Everything has been silenced now in the wake of this murder of this member of parliament who supported Remain. But there was this article I saw on Breitbart. London's Muslim mayor is having Remain rallies, and he's doing it with the hijab-clad women who are standing in the background. So it's kind of, I guess you could say that he's backing Remain, but he's having the hijab women remain in the back, Paul.
Well, I mean, it's like we saw with the video clip I played earlier. That's the fundamental belief of Islam. Segregation. So you've got all the men at the front, you've got all the women relegated to the back. And, you know, he's from Tooting, which is one of these Islamic ghettos, basically. You can walk down the street, you know, it's a halal butcher, an Islamic bookstore, a mosque. This is one of the areas that has been completely taken over. It's not about diversity. As I said, this is a monoculture. They don't embrace diversity, yet we're supposed to embrace diversity. Another thing with the Brexit, of course, you had numerous people, Christine Lagarde of the IMF, you had Alain Juppé, this left-wing French presidential candidate, you had an EU commissioner, all come out within hours of the murder of Joe Cox and say that, for example, with the EU commissioner, Dimitris Avramopoulos, quote, she was murdered for her dedication to European democracy and humanity. Alain Juppé said she was, quote, shamefully murdered because of her beliefs. This guy was a mentally ill person on drugs with no political history. Yeah. The closest people to him said he wasn't political at all. The eyewitnesses said that the claims he said Britain first were completely wrong. The one person they've got who said that is a BNP member, yet they're running with it. Yeah. They exploited this within minutes, which shows you exactly, I mean, their entire campaign is not based on having a fair debate. This should be about immigration, jobs, the economy, sovereignty.
That's right.
Their campaign is so discredited, it's so crumbling that they've had to basically dance on the grave of this poor dead woman to try and reinvigorate their campaign. And this is the same crowd that says, you know, after every Islamist terror attack, not all Muslims, don't blame all Muslims. Yet in the immediate aftermath of this, they blamed all Vote Leave supporters. Absolutely shameful, and it's still going on.
Oh, yeah, just like in the United States, they say don't blame Muslims, and yet they blame all gun owners. For what's happened there. We're the ones who need to have our guns taken away. And as the Wall Street Journal is saying, and of course the Wall Street Journal and all the financial community and the bankers who want this globalism, they want Britain to stay in the European Union. They're saying, well, this silences both sides. As you point out, it hasn't silenced the people who want Britain to remain. They've been using this vociferously and continuously, but the people who have been silenced are the people who were there saying that we need to leave, we need to be independent. They are the ones who are being silenced, and they're going to be silenced because for this entire next weekend, as well as going through the memorial service next Monday, everything leading up to it, all the narrative is going to be about how people who want to leave are nothing but hateful racists. And that's why we've got the Southern Poverty Law Center jumping in with a bunch of bogus, doubtful information with us.
Yeah, and now you've got Angela Merkel coming out. She's not being silent. She's come out and said that it characterizes the radical atmosphere of the rhetoric that surrounds this whole conversation about Europe. Well, this is the same woman whose policy brought in 1 million plus Muslim migrants into Germany, a lot of them who are Syrian. Polls show 21% of Syrians support ISIS. So she's literally bringing in hundreds of thousands of people who are radicalized, who support ISIS, who want the death penalty for gay people, who want Sharia law. And yet she's blaming people who simply want to reclaim some essence of sovereignty and freedom back for themselves, for their parliamentary democracy. She's saying that they're the radicals. Again, absolutely absurd that this statement would come from her. They're dancing on the grave. They're exploiting this, and it's shameful.
You know, we had former mayor of London, Boris Johnson, who favors Britain becoming a sovereign nation again. And he gave 8 reasons why Britain would be better off with an exit. And as you're talking about this, Paul, the people, as part of the Leave campaign, came up with very concrete proposals talking about how much money was going to be put back into the national health system and so forth and so on, showing the economic benefits. And that has all been shut down. And what's the usual tactic from the usual suspects? Racism. Thank you so much, Paul Joseph Watson. We're going to be joined by Alex Jones in the next segment. He's going to talk about cyber war.
Yesterday on Thursday, I broke down official NATO statements, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, where they threatened Russia with military responses if anyone inside Russia or a Russian protectorate hacks an individual, a corporation, or a governmental institution that is, quote, protected by the umbrella of NATO. A lot of things come to mind when I read that. In an official statement from NATO as a new defense policy, their new stance, their new rules of engagement. NATO for 5 years has been funding the Arab Spring, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and Saudi Arabian invasions of North Africa, Northeast Africa, the Middle East, Central Asia, you name it. NATO has been involved in toppling nations like Libya and, of course, trying to topple Syria and successfully for a few years toppling Egypt to put in the Muslim Brotherhood and other Wahhabist groups. Then they have the nerve to tell Russia, that has 3 foreign military bases, that it is trying to start a world war. They use these terms. And we see the head of NATO and others saying we need to see Russian body bags to counter this. I'm not a Russophile. I've never been to Russia. I don't have any Slavic blood in me. I'm not rooting for the Ruskies. My daddy took me when I was a kid to hear Ronald Reagan speeches at Fair Park and places in Dallas. Most of my family's been in the U.S. military. It's just that Russia isn't starting the wars. And this is a fact that our government, run by George Soros, overthrew Ukraine 3 years ago, put fascists in, overthrew an elected government, and then our media said Russia had done it. This is getting crazier and crazier. So I want to go over a few of these articles just to illustrate how out of control the globalists are and how they're the ones endangering humanity. I tend to do this every day on the syndicated radio/TV show, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and I'll use Infowars.com as an example, or DrudgeReport.com, 2 sites that give you a wide range of articles. But the way Drudge lays it out is truly populist. AR-15s flying off the shelves. Now rainbow flags are out with the Don't Tread on Me symbol, the Culpeper symbol. That's got to make them mad, saying #shoot back. Sales surge among gays and lesbians across the country buying guns. Biggest sales ever. West Hollywood inundated with pro-gun, pro-gay posters. Calls for expanded watch list. Test civil liberties. Yeah, you want to put gun ownership into the whole watch list of flights. It's all extrajudicial. It's all completely and totally outside of due process. But Bloomberg, who wants our guns, openly admits, though, that it tests civil liberties and violates due process. CIA warns ISIS is coming. Well, yeah, you helped bring them in. Countries in visa-free travel program not sharing terror info. Algorithm aims to predict attacks. Well, how about it's Muslims? 441 Syrian refugees admitted to the U.S. since Orlando attack 5 days ago. White House sees surge in coming months. Iraqi man clutching Quran, harassers diners at Texas IHOP. Now look at this. Trump storms Texas. We have reporters there. Those reports are about to be played here on the air with David Knight and Paul Joseph Watson hosting. But as we continue, Mexican flags fly at Trump protest in Dallas. Again, Trump points out that this judge ruling against him is a member of La Raza, involved in a group suing him and boycotting him. He should recuse himself. But here we have the American Mirror reporting on the Mexican flags that are flying there. I mean, if Mexico's so wonderful, why don't you go there? But I get it, under La Reconquista, Texas, under the Guadalupe Hidalgo Treaty, previous to that, it's all been stolen. 6 days later, Berlin frets about EU influence if UK leaves it. Trans for Trump Facebook page suspended. More censorship. Border battle. The members of the unofficial patrol, Senator Sessions, who's probably going to be the VP of Trump, says that the members of the unofficial patrol are basically patriots, and Senator Sessions says dictator Obama flooding rural towns with illegals. Yes, outside of law, having them complete the smuggling process. But don't worry, federal government approves higher fence for the White House. And California's new motor voter law would add 2 million registered voters in the first year. Okay, that's just some of the news I want to cover. We'll get to more of that in just a moment. But Mexico has a wall. Mexico has a fence. 6 months to a year of hard labor. They torture the people they catch coming in illegal. I'm not saying that's a good thing. That's a bad thing. But we just can't offer free stuff to the world and then call Donald Trump racist if he's against it. I mean, that's just common sense. But continuing, here's another example. I told people back on Sunday and Monday that I bet it that the guy that went in and, you know, this crazy Taliban, ISIS lover, shooter, whose dad goes on the internet and sells kill gays, and his minister, his imam goes on there and says that. Now we learned that the Taliban is using honey trap boys to kill Afghan police because pedophilia and homosexuality is so incredibly over the top that that's how they go lure Afghan police for Al-Qaeda and the Taliban and the Pashtuns to kill them. Because when I first started reporting on this, which is well known, it's like saying you go to a Turkish jail, you get raped, that homosexuality is most common in Muslim countries. And you say, well, why do they kill them in Saudi Arabia, throw them off buildings when they find them in Syria or Egypt or Libya? It's because you're not supposed to admit you're doing it. And between men, it's dominating another man, or a boy, it's dominating. It's not supposed to be love. If you love them, it's then evil. So a truly sick system. I mean, if adults want to do something, that's their issue. That's why I'm attacked and called homophobic, because I don't want to kill anybody. Okay, fine. Or Islamophobic, because I don't want to have my family put hoods over their heads. But in Islam, it's okay to kill people if they're homosexual. And man, the leftists just love it. We actually have clips of this. We played it yesterday with Jakari Jackson in Atlanta a few days ago. And they got a guy with a gay pride, rainbow flag, bitching out some black teenager who's a Trump supporter saying, how dare you, Trump wants to send blacks back to Africa, and he's in the Klan, all this made up stuff. While he's wearing a rainbow flag when Trump's out there defending the rights of all Americans not to be killed. It's just all fantasy land. It's a bunch of domesticated, weak, stupid people who are on this big collectivist bent, believing government really cares about them and special interests really want to give them something free. As you get poorer, as you get dumber, as your worthless college degrees, get you a job bagging groceries. You just can't admit you've been conned. And I remember a few cousins and business partners and people, probably up to 5 or 6 people I know, who went from getting angry at me to never talking to me again, because over 15, 16 years ago, I said, before everybody knew this, but it was well known, but not totally known, wasn't absolutely known, that Nigerian fake emails from Prince Boo Boo or Ababa or John Babu Boo, these are real fake names. I'm not joking, you've all gotten them. That you've just won $1 million, just send me 5,000, Prince Abubu needs it. And you're so honored that Prince Abubu called you that you send him 5,000, and they go, sorry, you can get the 2 million once you send us 20,000, Prince Abubu appreciates you. And if you're dumb enough to send him 20,000 to get the 2 million, then you're going to actually get a call from Prince Abubu. And then the call never comes. And these people would look at me and say, you're jealous that Prince Abubu chose, it's mainly women, he's coming to America. I'm going to marry Prince Abubu. Like your free Obamacare, all of it. It's like, God almighty. When you're a kid and the guy grabs the rabbit out of the hat, the magician, you think he really did it. When you're about 10 years old, your dad tells you, hey, see that table? There's an open door through the top of the hat. It opens. There's a trap door through the hat, the hat does like this, trap door opens. There's a rabbit below. He pulls it out. And you look at your dad, you go, Dad, it's real magic. Shut up, conspiracy theorist. So I think people that doubt fake magic tricks are conspiracy theorists, or You know, if you doubt that, you know, Alice in Wonderland's real or Mary Poppins, I mean, it's just crazy. So how far into are we this, dude?
7 minutes.
7 minutes. I want to finish this up and go back to Paul Watson and the rest of the crew. David Knight coming up that are co-hosting here on this Friday worldwide transmission.